Hello and welcome to Security Secure, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is the Celebrity Mental Health Podcast, or I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same match as me, then before we get to today's guest, please subscribe to Security Secure where you're listening or watching. At the end of the episode, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Now, let me tell you about my guest today. My guest today lasted 2 weeks in the world's most famous house before being the second person to be evicted on Big Brother. A model and now reality star influencer, I'm delighted to welcome to Security Secure. It's Big Brother's 2023 contestant. It's Zak. Hello, Zak.
How you doing, guys? Zak here from Manchester. How you all doing? You all right?
Is that what we're calling yourself? Zak from Manchester?
Yeah, Zak from Manchester. Or Zak from Thailand?
well, this is it. We're going to get straight into it. So let's go straight through. Let's go back to Thailand. You were age 9 when you moved over here. So talk to me about the first 9 years of your life. Your mum is Thai, your dad's from Laos. So two completely different cultures. How did that all work for you, Zak, in your upbringing?
Initially, growing up in Thailand, my dad was quite on the wealthy side. My mum was on the poor side. The poor didn't really get on with the rich too much. So it was difficult for my mum and my dad's family to get along with each other. So my dad's side of the family hated my mum's family because it's just how it was. The rich just didn't like the poor. Growing up, my mum eventually had the courage to leave my dad. And then I was staying with my dad and then staying with my mum, staying with my auntie. So I got juggled around quite a lot as a little kid growing up. Around about age of 8 or 9, my mum, she met my little brother's dad, which is an English fella in Thailand while she was working at one of the bars or waiters, as a waiter somewhere in a restaurant somewhere. I'm not sure for the full details of it. So eventually my mum, she got with him for a bit. Then, they got married together in Thailand. A couple of years down the line, unfortunately, my dad passed away. He passed away just before I turned age of 9 or 10. And then I was staying in my auntie's house for a bit, who was in Thailand. And then, my auntie, she was quite poor. After my dad passed away, unfortunately, my dad's side of the family didn't really want to have much to do with me. So it was more like anyone in Thailand who could take care of me would take care of me, whether that was my auntie, my uncle, or whatever. And then shortly after about 6 months of living with my auntie just basically said to my mum, listen, I've got my own kids to look after. I can't really afford to look after Zak. She didn't have much money. She was feeling unwell. And then my mum went back to Thailand and got me and brought me over to the UK. So that's when I came to England.
So let's break that down a little bit more, Zak, for your fans. In those 9 years, when your mum and dad weren't getting on, the families hated each other, what was your sense of belonging and your identity when you were going, well, hold on a minute, I love my mum and I love my dad. Yes, my dad's made mistakes, but I love them equally. It's unconditional love. And yet they don't want me and I don't want me. And who am I? Does anyone actually want me?
It was the difficult time, as a little kid, Johnny. I'll be straight up with you. I was always one of those kids who kept myself to myself. I went through a lot when I was younger. I got bit up by a Rottweiler. I almost died. I got run over by a car. I almost died. There's many times where, I escaped death, believe it or not, as a little kid, but I didn't really talk about it too much during.
What was that Rottweiler experience for you?
So I was 3-4 years old. My next door neighbor, because I've had puppies. Me being I was one of those kids. I was always curious. I was always everything's friendly, everyone's friendly. I actually walked over to this puppy, and I started picking the puppies up, started playing with them, and then the mother, she was out, I don't know, looking for food, doing whatever. She's then came back. She seen me playing with the puppies. Boom. She's then launched herself and grabbed me by the head and started yanking me all over the place, left, right, and centre. My mum or the people around the village tried to come to split up the dog, and they managed to split the dog up. My mum's grabbed me. She's picked me up. I was covered in blood. My mum said, all that time you still weren't even crying, and you just sat there, blood is dripping down your face. Then drove down to the local hospital, because where we lived in our village, they didn't have many facilities or have professional doctors or had the equipment to give me the right procedures to take care of me. So there was listen, the operation is going to be too big. We're so sorry, we can't do it. You're going to have to take him to a bigger hospital, but you need to get him there as soon as possible, because if he loses any more blood, he could potentially die. They then drove me to the major city in the village, towards the city centre, towards the big cities of Thailand. We managed to get to the hospital in time. My mum didn't have the money to get the operation done, but then she did a few calls. She sold some stuff back at home. The operation cost her pretty much everything she owed, everything she had. She then got the operation, stitched me up and that. They said, if you would have came, a couple of hours later, you probably would have lost him. So yeah, that was one of those stories. And, a few weeks down the line, my mum said, Zak, you need to be careful. You can't just do silly things like that. You're always love hurting yourself. The world is full of danger. But I was always one of those child and those kids there's no danger in this world. Everything's sweet. Everything's nice. That's why I always believed in. A few weeks down the line, she says to me, son, believe it or not, she said, what's your favourite number between 1 and 100? I don't know what number I said. I think I might have said 68 or 86. And then, she put her last bit of savings into that in the lottery. That number came back the week later. She won the lottery, which weren't a lot of money, but where we grew up with it's quite a bit of money. And all the stuff she sold for me to get an operation, which was like a bit of her land, parts of her the stuff she owed. She managed to buy everything back, which was a really great turnaround.
And what about the car experience?
So as a little kid, yeah, I'd always had this one toy car. I've actually got a picture of it on my phone. I always played with it. I carried it about with me everywhere I went. And I was playing in the middle of the road, and this motorbike come round this corner. Must have been going about 60, 70 miles per hour. It's hit me. I've gone into the air. I've come down. My mum said, like, you had cuts on your arms, you had cuts on the side of your face, your blood was dripping. She said, you just literally walk back to your toy car and picked it up and carried on playing with it whilst blood was dripping down you, and you didn't pay attention to the pain you was having.
Oh, mate. And looking now at, you're 28 years old now, you're nearly 30, which is kind of like a third of your life done. I turned 30 last year. I'm 31 next week.
Yeah.
And so when you look back at that younger version of you now, Zak, do you think, oh, I now want to know my father's side of the family. I want to go back to Thailand and actually discover who they all are.
I always believe in, if they wanted to be a part of me, they wanted to understand where I am and what I was doing, they'd always be in contact with me. And my mum told me, like, they didn't want nothing to do with me. I'm not in a bitter way, but I'm just thinking, like, you had the opportunity to take care of me. You had the opportunity to be there for me when I needed you, and you wasn't. So why should I bother understanding why you did that? Like, it's one of those things. You don't want to be there for me, so I just thought, I don't really want to be there for you, sort of thing. Believe it or not, we'll go into it later on, but they reached out to me a few years ago when they see me on Thai news just to say hello and all that, and how proud they are of me.
What do you think they would say to you now that you've done Big Brother? Because it's one thing being on the news, but there's another thing actually showing a vulnerable side of your on Big Brother.
The thing is, in where they come from and their culture, they don't really understand what Big Brother is. To me, that's just me being on TV. They don't really have the concepts of reality TV in Thailand of Big Brother. Their sort of stuff is kind of different. So I'm not sure if they'll know I've been on there. Like I said, that's how much attention they pay to me. They probably won't have a clue what I've done or what I've been on. So I don't think it'll make a difference to them. A few years ago, I did a campaign for Burberry. Because I've come from a small little village of northeast in Thailand. The people with darker skin, they don't really get fine life, because a lot of the people in Thailand, if you've got dark skin, they class you as a hard-working farmer. And if you've got lighter skin, you're classed as a high-end corporate office worker. So if you're the darker the skin, the poorer you are, and the less opportunities you get. And that's what people believed in Thailand. So, me, I've stayed true to myself. I'm quite dark for a Thai person. After I'd done that campaign, it was on, the Thai BBC News, the Thai ITV. It was all over. It's printed all over the magazine. It was printed all over GQ, Vogue in Thailand, saying this guy's from the northeast. He's from a little small village. Because I said, you don't need to bleach your skin. You don't need to take opportunities regarding where you're from in life and what you look like, what color skin you are. So you just need to do it. And it blew up. And, I think Miss Thailand, she saw the article and she saw that what I wrote, and then she published it to like the whole world in Thailand. And that's when I blew up. And then one of my dad's brother, he actually contacted me saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. We've seen you on all over Thai TV. I just want to say congratulations. We're also proud of you. If you ever want to speak, you know where we are and all this. But then I just thought, like, you didn't really bother checking up on me when I weren't doing anything, or when I, wasn't all over the news. And, now you see me on the news and doing something with myself. Now you're trying to get in touch with me. I don't get why that is. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought, you know what, I let it rest and just let it be.
And can I just ask, you said bleaching skin. What is that?
A lot of people in foreign countries, not just in Thailand, a lot of Asia culture, they like to put like white powder on their face. They like to bleach their skin. It's like a thing they use, and they do it over and over and over again, and it makes your face lighter. So a lot of people do that. So it makes, like, people look at them not like, oh, you're a poor person, you're from the village, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, so at the moment, I'm just trying to run, not a campaign sort of thing, but I'm just trying to let the world know, or let my people know in Thailand, like, you don't need to do all that sort of stuff to have the same opportunity as everybody else. So, it's quite hard to try and break that stereotype, because everybody's just trying to look pale, because the more pale you look, the richer you look.
So you come over to the United Kingdom, age 9, 10 years old, forgetting about primary school, because you're still trying to get used to the language and everything like that. As you go into secondary school, where you aren't high class and you're not lower class, you're in the middle now. Yeah. How did you find settling into school and that sense of identity? Who were you in school? Because when I look at models, and I speak to a lot of Love Islanders, for example, and all the Love Islanders, they're always, the good-looking ones, and they were the popular ones in school. When I look at you and I see a model, good-looking, has been on Big Brother, I'd think confident and all that stuff. But what was it actually like for you back then when we're talking about 20 years ago nearly?
Believe it or not, mate, I had a really, really tough time in school. You know, going into school, my mum was like, just keep your head down, don't get into fights, don't do anything stupid because they'll send you back to Thailand and I can't afford to lose you. I'm the only person you've got and I'll take care of you. Going back a few years well in Thailand before I just come to the UK just to understand why, you know, I talk about my mum so much, I love her so much. There were times where my mum would carry me about around Thailand in her hands, just carrying from job to job while she was waitering, while she was mopping the floors, while she was, you know, working in the front desk and the counter at a restaurant. She must have worked at like 3, 4 jobs just to keep the food on the table for me. There were times when I'm, you know, I'm looking at mum, like, I'm hungry, mum, you know, she's got no money to feed me. And, you know, she managed to, you know, pull out a couple of pennies and, you know, she'll go buy food and if she's hungry, she'll give me her last bit of food and be like, you eat, son, I don't need to eat. Don't worry about me. Like, I'll be okay. And, you know, that's why I respect my mum so much. So going back to England when I was like, you know, in school, my mum just said, keep your head down, you know, just focus on school, try to listen. And for the first few days in school, I was like, Mum, like, I don't really have a clue what they're talking about. I don't really have a clue what's been taught or what's been said. I don't have a knowledge or any kind of wisdom of what they're talking about because I don't understand English. Try and just keep trying, just keep listening. And then eventually they managed to actually get like a supply teacher in for me, which, you know, was like a translator. She then, you know, stayed with me for like a few months. I think it must have cost the school a bit of money. So they were struggling to keep her there. But, you know, she tried to taught me the basics of like my ABCs, my 1, 2, 3s, all the simple things like the sun, the star, hi, hello, goodbye. So I started to learn the basics of it in school. No one wanted to be my friend, which was quite tough. Every single dinner time, the kids would be like, you know, you can't sit with us. You're not from England. I was a really good footballer in Thailand. And, you know, football is one of the things I was quite passionate about growing up as a kid. And I always wanted to play football. And all the kids in school would play football. And I'd be like, oh, can I play? They'd be like, oh, no, you can't play with us. You know, you're not from England. I came home to my mum and I said to my mum one day, I was like, Mum, no one in school wants to be my friend or play with me. What shall I do? She went, oh, you'll be okay. Just, you know, just keep your head down. And the more I spent time with myself in school, there was this one girl, and well, there's two girls actually who actually quite made an effort with me, which I still have contact with. They would always sit with me at dinner time. They was always play tig with me. And, you know, they was always trying to play football with me. So I'd always remember them two. The names were Bianca and Chloe. They were the two girls who would play with me in school, which was really nice.
When you think about those experiences and you look back at it now, how do you feel about how much you've achieved? Because you've achieved so much. And, you know, being a model and having that independency as well is that resilience that you've built up for yourself. Do you notice how much resilient you are?
Yeah, like it's just one of those things, you know, like a lot of people who don't know me or know where I'm from, they just kind of, you know, take the first glance and be like, oh, okay, he's a model. He thinks he's this, he thinks he's that. And, you know, I always say to people, like, you should give everyone a chance to get to know their story and know where they come from and who they are. You shouldn't really judge people from the first impressions. And that's what I've learned to do myself. You know, a lot of people would like to judge people. And that's why I struggled in the Big Brother house. Because, you know, a lot of people judge me for where I was, you know, my job role, the way I looked, the way I was.
Let's look a bit at the modeling side of you now. When you're going into an industry like that, which is so dog eat dog, and it's so about your body image, and it's so about who looks better on that personal day, and you know, you're competing with everyone.
In the modeling industry, they expect you to be a certain size, they expect you to be in a certain shape, so you always got to keep yourself in good nick. You know, you face a lot of rejections. You know, when you go to these castings, they could be like, oh, his shoulder's too big or it looks too funny. Like, you know, it does obviously knock you down in the confidence wise. But like, you know, as the days and the times have gone on, you know, they're not as mean with it. They just tell you, no, we don't want him. Or they say, yes, we want him. So, you know, as the time gone on and the years have gone on, they're not allowed to be like, you know, say negative things about you anymore because, you know, it could affect you.
5 years forward, you then go and do Big Brother. You last 2 weeks in the house. You've been out for nearly a week now. How do you look at your time in the house? And did you achieve everything you wanted to achieve when you went in there?
Yeah, I felt like, you know, I'd show my true colors, but unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of the times where, you know, that, you know, I grew self-confidence growing up in school and going through all the jobs I've had. You know, I taught myself how to learn English, watching YouTube videos. I taught myself English, watching movies with subtitles. So I still do all that now. My self-confidence, I've watched a lot of podcasts I listen to, you know, motivational speaking, how to gain self-confidence and stuff. But being in the Big Brother house, you know, I felt like I was myself. I was 100% genuine. And, you know, I always mentioned to myself, like, I know what it feels like to be left out. I know what it feels like not to be included. And that's why when I seen the people sat by themselves, I'd always check up on them. I'd always speak to everyone in the household. I just made sure everybody felt included because I knew how it felt being left out. So then everyone in the household was like, oh, Zak is too nice, isn't he? Zak's like, I think he's playing a game. I don't think he's being genuine. He's always like checking up on me. He's always checking up on everyone. I think he's playing a game. That's what everybody thought. And that's what unfortunately got me voted out, because I said, I was being too nice in the house, and they didn't believe it was true. But, I felt like I delivered the message. I felt like a lot of people, I've had over like 10,000 messages on Instagram saying you was great. I do believe that you was genuine, and I wish you could have stayed there a little bit longer. It's boring without you. Like, I think like you was the only real person in there. So I've had a really, really great and positive feedback, and I managed to show the world how great my mum was, how great my story was. A lot of people said they could relate to the things I was talking about, because there were moments they shared, the softer side and the stories they shared. They did show that, but they didn't show all the times where I was with like Yingran, I was with like Henry, Jordan. I had a really like moments with them, and they didn't televise it, unfortunately. They gave me this like this alpha character, but also they gave me the softer side here and there as well. But I just wish they showed my softer side just a little bit more. But nevertheless, I feel like they did a great job. The welfare team was really good. They checked up on me. They did a great job. I can't fault them.
Well, hopefully on today's episode of Security and Secure, people have got to see your softer side. Thanks to Zak from Big Brother for opening up on his mental health journey through Big Brother and beyond. You've been watching or listening to Security and Secure. If you like what you heard, please do give a 5-star rating, leave a review, and click that subscribe button. It's so important we keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. On social media, at Johnny Seifert 92 on TikTok, at Johnny Seifert at Security and Secure Podcast on Instagram, and at Johnny Seifert on Twitter. Let's keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay throughout the week, and I'll be back next week with another reality star to tell their story.